you should analyze your website. Uh, Hello, good morning. I'm David Grubb from Shepherd's Loft Web Design Agency. And today I want to explain to you why it's important to analyze your website. So trust but verify. So whether you're building the website yourself, or if you're hiring someone to do that for you, you should always analyze your website, both with tools and visually check it out. So it's really important to be able to verify that your website is ready to receive leads. So the topics that we want to cover today is, I always think about Bear Grylls and his survival instincts, right, and procedures, right. So it's, please remember what's first: protection, rescue, water, and food. So we're going to try to kind of relate to surviving in the wilderness to our digital world. So as that relates to websites, please remember what's first. Please, is protection is security. Make sure your website is secure. Rescue, that is backups. Make sure you've got backups both on your website and or your server. And then your water and food is really your content, the words on the page, and then the content, your photos and videos that you have into your website. So these things are really important, because if you don't have all of these pieces in place, then you are wasting your money when it comes to Google ads, Facebook ads, and billboards, or whatever kind of advertising you're doing. If you're advertising and spending money to drive traffic to your website, and your website is not optimized to receive those customers and convert them, attract, convert, collect, and deliver, then you're wasting your money. So this is why we're going over this today, because it's extremely important that you trust but verify that your website is ready to receive. So that's why it's important. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to analyze our own website today. So again, I'm David Grubb from Shepherd's Loft, and I'm going to be analyzing shepherdsloft.com. We're going to use a few different tools, and then we may also do a little bit of a visual inspection. But the primary purpose of this video is I want to show you how to use some tools. They're all free. So just using some free tools right quick, you can verify that your website is prepared. Now, there's a couple of categories that we can check, right? And it's really about optimization. So there's security, which is just kind of a yes, no, but then we get into optimization. You can check for your speed. You can check for your mobile view. And also you can check for search engine optimization. So we're trying to optimize the website for multiple things: the humans, the robots, and the learning language systems that are out there, or AI as you know it very well. So we can check a lot of those things, and some things are kind of mandatory, like you really want to do them. They're super important to be optimized for. And then other items are kind of may not be worth pursuing or spending your time trying to fix. So whether you're a small business, or you're doing this yourself, or if you've hired someone to do it, this is what you want to verify. You want to verify that your website is optimized. Okay, so we've got our website here. I'm going to copy the address here from the URL, and I'm going to go over, and the first tool, which I'm going to attempt to use. Yes, it wasn't working yesterday, so I hope it's going to work for us today. It is websitegrader.com, website.grader.com, and you can see it over here. And this is actually provided by HubSpot. And so I'm going to paste my address in here, and then I'm going to put in my email address here so they can send me some email. So I'm going to click the button down here and get my score, and we're going to give this a minute to process. Now, while this is processing, I can tell you in advance, this is going to check the high level things for us, like the security, the SEO, and the speed, and it'll break those things out into categories, and we'll be able to see really quickly. It's going to give us an overall score. That's why I really love this tool, because I can tell in a glance, okay, this is this, if we're passing, if we're 80, 85 or better, then I know in general I'm doing some things right. Okay, so here we go. We have an 82, so we're barely passing, but we are passing. So these are the categories: the performance, the SEO, the mobile, and the security. And over here on the right side, I can scroll down and see what's going on with the performance. So we got a 22 out of 30. Our page is super light, so that's good. 74 on the page request. So sometimes you're going to be limited on how much you're going to be able to control this. This HTTP request is like how many different files and resources are being pulled to build that page. We're using Divi on WordPress, so it uses a lot of sources. You can reduce those. I love Font Awesome, but it's a third-party service, and that creates about 7 or 8 HTTPS requests. So little things like that, you got to decide, okay, am I going to use this tool or am I going to use this tool? How can I reduce these number of page requests? And to get my not just get your score up, but so that your website is better. Again, sometimes these things are not really worth pursuing. I feel like 84 is really good. I've seen some websites that are over 100, and that was pretty bad. That definitely needed some work. We are in this case, we're looking for a lower number, and we're less than 100. Actually, we're all the way down to 74. So even though it says serious improvement, take it with a grain of salt. I think it's pretty good considering the fact that we are running a very resource-rich type website, a CMS. Page speed 5.8 seconds. So this is not good. So even though our page is very light and can load fast, is not loading fast. So that is a problem. So I need to look and see what's hanging up this website. There are other speed tools that we can check. So it's kind of like going to the doctor. You don't want just one opinion. You want to get multiple opinions and then discover whether or not there is an issue that can be corrected or whether or not it's worth pursuing. So again, everything is kind of with a grain of salt. You work on things that you can fix and things that you can't fix or that you can't get somebody to fix. You just kind of have to live with it. So sometimes those are features that are on the website. One of the things, there's several things that I avoid, which I can make a whole nother video about it, but I'll just give you a quick bullet list. I avoid any kind of streams into the homepage like Facebook or X feeds. I avoid embedding Google Maps or any kind of other Google things on the homepage because of the JavaScript files. It creates more requests and it slows down the page. So if we would go back to look at our website, you can see here, that's a screenshot, icons, images. Okay, so this is the visual inspection part, right? So the tool is looking for things. And so you can see that I don't have any videos or Google Map embeds or streams coming into the home page. So I'm not using any of those. So that's going to help keep down this page request and increase my speed. So I'm going to take this under note that this says 5.8, but we're going to check another tool to see what it says just to verify that. Okay, so everything else is looking good. I have caching. I have a minimum number of page redirects. All my images are scaled and compressed properly in the new web formats. I am minifying my JS and I'm also minifying my CSS. These are all controlled by the caching tool. So I'm using my caching tool and it fixes all three of these things. The image size usually has to be manually fixed. But so those are some of the things that you should know about as far as those. So even though I've only got a score of 22, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot I can do. We can run a separate page speed test to see how valid this is and whether or not we can find some issues that need correcting. All right, SEO. Looks like I got a perfect score on the SEO. Permissions to index just means we allow Google to scan it. Meta description, so I've got my keywords and my meta description put in. Content plugins. Search engines can't always understand content that relates to browser plugins such as Flash. Oh, okay, so yeah, we're not embedding any, and this is what I was talking about before, we're not embedding Google Maps or YouTube or the old Macromedia Flash type components that require browsers to install components to see anything on the website. So we're not hiding anything. So content plugins, this is related to the browser plugin, the plugins for your browser or extensions, which I'm using Chrome. You can see up here I got my little extensions installed. So nothing on my website requires the user to install a extension or aka plugin. So that's good. Description link text. So this is really important. Description link text means that I have described the links and buttons on my page. So you can see here, here's my button, web design instant quote. So that button, this text describes what this button is linked to. And same thing here, website consultation, it links to the appointment page. These are the same buttons up here. And if I had any other links on the page, which I don't believe that I do, I just have those two buttons is the only thing I have on the page, and they are consistent. This is not linked even though it's red. This is not linked. These are the same buttons. Now, I do have a lot of links here, but they all describe exactly what they are going to. So in other words, the link, the text that the link is linking to the page matches. So if I were to click on Platinum Hosting, I'm going to go to a page labeled Platinum Hosting. So all of the names of the links are labeled the same and they match to where they're going, the relative. So I'm not tricking anybody by saying, you know, get started or learn more, where it's hidden information. So all of that's really good. Kind of got into some usability items there with these description links, but that's a perfect score. Mobile view. So it looks like I got here, and this is a common problem right here, and it just takes work. It is something that can be fixed. So in terms of my page, it doesn't tell me where it's broken, but I know what tap targets are. Tap targets are when you're on this mobile device, if you were to take your finger and try to press a link, again, it's not showing us on this little picture. This little icon for the menu is big enough. I could use my finger to select on that. So that's not going to be the problem. Typically what the issue is there's small links somewhere in the footer. So perhaps I need to make the text in the footer bigger so that when you're on the mobile device, you're able to, you know, pick this one instead of the one above or below it. Because all my buttons are big enough. I don't have a slideshow with little arrows. So most likely my issue is going to be that my fonts in my footer are too small because those are all linked. So that's something I can improve. It should be pretty easy to change all those font sizes. The responsiveness, so it does resize to the mobile device. Legible font size, so I've definitely worked on making all my fonts a lot bigger. It looks a little gray, it could be wider, so there might be an accessibility issue there, but that's not what this tool is calling out. Okay, security, you know, and really this was the first one. It's ironic that this is on the bottom. There's not a lot we can do in terms of security. However, the HTTPS it's a free. Everybody should be on a secure socket layer. The S in the HTTPS stands for secure socket layer. So everybody should have that. If you don't have one, you'd really need to talk to your hosting company and get that fixed. This is important, and this is a kind of a baseline. If your website does not at least appear to be secure, then you then your visitors won't even get to your website. It'll give them a warning and they'll leave and they'll never come back. Um, so, this is something that you have to do. You have to make sure that your website's secure before you can do anything else. The secure JavaScript libraries, this is really simple in terms of WordPress. We're just making sure that everything is upgraded, the latest PHP, the latest core, the latest theme, the latest plugin versions. Everything is upgraded on a daily basis. It can be very time consuming, but it's extremely important because it's part of security. And one, you want people to be able to get to your website. You don't want to block them from arriving. Two, in terms of security is backups. You want to make sure that you've made a backup of your website. So that's there. So we got a good score on there, and that's the website grader tool. That's kind of a complete look and description on it. So we do want to dive in. There's a couple other tools that we can look at. One of them is I've installed in my Chrome extension browser is I've installed this Lighthouse extension, and this can be used to analyze. So really the important one here, and I don't know if I have it set to desktop. We're going to change this to mobile because this is going to be a little more critical to us. So I'm going to run this report and I'll talk about that for a second. The page, so this is page speed by Google. Again, you can install this Lighthouse extension in your website. When you're on your website, you just click the button and tell it to run a report, which is super easy to do. So you can see all these tools are free and they're easy to use. Really, the page speed, that's exactly what we're looking at. We're trying to look and check the speed of the website to see if there's anything slowing us down, but there's also other things that it'll check. So our score just came in. We have a perfect score on the SEO and the best practices, so that's really good. Our accessibility is low, and if you remember, I pointed out something earlier that I noticed that might hurt our SEO. So those scores here, we can go back and check. So this text could have more contrast, so that might be hurting our score. There is a tool for WordPress that you can install to be able to check your accessibility, and I advise you to use that. It depends on what theme you're using. However, but if you have WordPress, I think the Divi accessibility tool will allow you to install that into your WordPress and run that check for you. And actually, we could do that on another episode. I can dive into how to check all those things. But again, so the more contrast, this red on black down here may not be producing enough contrast. So I'm aware of a couple of issues that I could possibly have with the accessibility. You can click on these items and it'll tell you, okay, so it's actually saying that my viewport is not max scale. The element of the max scale actually is less than 5. Okay, so I don't know how important. I'd have to look up and see how important that is, but it looks like I've got most of all the other basics. Here's the labels that we were talking about earlier that we got a perfect score on from the website Grader, but Google PageSpeed is telling me that I might have some problems with some of my labels. There's a link to the Gilmore Chamber, so I can go specifically and look at that link and where it's linking from. And maybe I've got a hidden link somewhere in the page, which can happen, and I just didn't clean it up well. So we can check those links, navigation, rule workers. So it looks like thinks that this is linked when it's not. Oh, okay. So no, actually, this is a heading element. So what happened here is I got the heading numbers out of order, so I might have skipped the H3 and went from H2 to H3. So I can, again, the accessibility tool would help me analyze that specific piece, and I can correct it. So this is an accessibility issue. This may be just a false link in there, and this one is about the scaling. Okay, so not a big deal, but there are some little things that we can do to improve there. Small details under performance. So the other one said we had a 5.8. This says largest content pane is 5.9, which is kind of in line with the other one. The first content pane was 4.5, so I think we still could do some uh, speed improvements here. But this is not, let's see if it gives us any suggestions. Uh, your business needs more than just. So it's highlighted this text area, this element, uh, which, this is 600, you know, 5,000 milliseconds. So there's something going on with this box. So we might analyze this little text box and see what's going on. But honestly, I'm not seeing any major issues that can be corrected. All of this is really small, so there's not any large issues here. Okay. All right, but this is a super useful tool. You can also toggle over to desktop. I like looking at the mobile because, yeah, sure, when you're at home or in your office, the desktop analysis is going to be, it has a little bit better score, I think. And a lot of this stuff can be overcome because just simply because you have faster internet access when you're at home on your desktop. But when you're on your mobile device, you could be out, in town or somewhere else where you don't have Wi-Fi or internet speed. So the mobile actually is going to be more important to look at. It's the lowest common denominator. So that's really important. Now I have one more tool. We've been going a while here, but and then I'll wrap this up. But I do have one more tool I think that I want to go over with you guys. This is, I don't know if they have the free version of this, but there is a GT metrics tool, and it will actually give you I get more generous score on your page speed, and I feel like it's a little bit more accurate than the other tools, but um, it's a third opinion. So again, we're trying to cultivate a consensus around what's happening on our website, which is real important. I mentioned, the attraction, uh, conver- conversion, collection, and delivery. And really, that's what your website is trying to do for you. So here we go. We got our GT metrics score. It's a B at 83. The first paint on this one says 1.9, which is way lower than what we got from both Google and Website Creator. And then if we go over to, so you can see here on our top issues, we have medium, low, and low. So again, this is showing us that these issues are not quite as critical as what the page speed has claimed. So when we're looking at these performance issues here, it's the little triangle is saying that these are pretty bad, right? So it's saying that we have a lot of really big issues, but then we look over here and these issues are not really that severe. Um, so those are there. If we click over to the performance tab, we can see our first paint is 609 milliseconds. Total block time is 171, which is layer time to interact. So customers can start interacting with the website in 1.2 seconds, which is really good. Our speed index is 1.1. Largest content paint is 1.9. So you can see all these numbers are much lower. And according to this, my website is performing a lot better than what those other tools claim that it is. So, but the important part there is to take away of the takeaway here is that you get a consensus of what's happening. So if you're seeing some of the same issues on multiple different tools, then there's definitely something that you need to look into there to make improvements. Down here, the fully load time. That I think that's what I'm most concerned about is, which is 2 seconds, so I'm below the 3 second margin. So I'm actually not concerned about my page speed, even though the other two tools are saying it's low. But the thing to remember is I'm looking at the mobile here. So if I really wanted to boost my mobile, I would look into this one issue here with this element and figure out why this is causing a slowdown on mobile. All right. So 83 is passing. It's not great, but it's also not bad, and I'm not seeing any really severe issues to make improvements on. So those are three tools that I use on a regular basis to analyze the websites. Um, and I think there's something, it's really important that you can learn to do this. You want to trust and verify whether you're doing the website yourself or if you're hiring someone to do that, then just verify that your website is optimized. Again, it's optimized for speed, mobile, and also conversion, right? Attraction, conversion, collections, and delivery. And so that includes your buttons and your labels for things in that in that scenario. So if you would like for me to analyze your website for you, I can do it one or two ways. Either you can give me permission to record and post a video so that it's documented, but we're sharing it with the world, or you can request that we do that privately, and I can actually do a full in-depth analysis, a visual analysis, which I'm not really getting into today. I did a little bit, but when I do a visual analysis of your website, I'm looking a lot more into the design, the usability, and the conversion factors of your website to make sure that it's optimized to convert customers. So I can do a little bit deeper dive on that. But if you would like to request a YouTube recording for free and for having me analyze your website, look it over with these tools, just put your website in the comments below, and I'll set up a time to do that broadcast for you. Otherwise, so thank you for watching, and if you do request your website to be analyzed, be sure to subscribe so that you know when that video is going to be posted. And otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll catch up with you next time.